Good afternoon, everybody.
Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's 6 o'clock. I'm going to call the joint meeting of the Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee to order. I have Charlie Bozello here. Steve? Here. Jenny?
Here.
I have Ann Barney on Zoom, and I'm Andy Fitch. Kendall?
For the Budget Committee, Sandra Coleman,
Here.
David Rule, Frank Garcia, Michelle Rafa, I'm Kendall Hughes. Jamie Lyford is absent without notice.
So the first item on our agenda is approval of minutes, and I haven't seen any, so we're going to go right straight to the ambulance.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself for the first three.
Okay.
So the ambulance, we've kind of broken this down to more reflect what's going on. So per diem salaries, because we transport during the day, you're showing $140,000 strictly to salaries. The FICA and the Medicaid are percentages based off of that figure. And then the ambulance training, and we moved money out of the training line into here and moved the Target Solutions platform, which is predominantly used by EMS providers for their continuing education requirements, into that line. So your figures are going to be a bit higher there. If you'll put that letter up there for me, Ron. So I took a look at what was going on, or the number of calls that we've been dealing with. And mind you, this was done back in September. So the current contract the town accepted, as you paying a fee of $50,000 as a retainer to Plymouth, then being billed $1,373 per call that they come to us. That figure specifically began in July of this year. And that's the figure we should be using going forward for next year's budget. As of September 19th, when I did this, we were at 103 incidents that they had come to town, with an average of 11 per month. So it yielded a figure of $141,419, which brings the current total with the $50,000 to $191,419. Then with that average of 11, you need to account for 33 more calls. And I can tell you that October did go with that pace, so we stayed on track. So you need to equate an additional 43,000. So your total would be $236,728. So I'm recommending that you budget $240,000 strictly for the ambulance contract to stay where we are safely and not get ourselves. Some of that you're going to recoup, because if Plymouth bills, any money they collect from insurances will come back to us, but we don't have any guarantee on that. The national average for returns on billing claims is about 62%, and I've been told that Ashland's is more like 49 to 51%. So you're really not having a great return when it comes to ambulance transports. So we should be looking at that $240,000 figure. And you'll also notice down on the next line, if you go back to the budget, yep, that we have moved the EMS supply line into the ambulance stuff so that you can show what the ambulance is actually going to cost us. So that brings you to a figure at $406,938.
38 or 36?
36.
36.
But, yeah, when we
met with Bob, we thought it best to break out the ambulance expenses, so it gives you a truer picture of what the ambulance, so it's not kind of buried in the fire budget. So the fire budget's the fire budget, and the ambulance budget is the ambulance budget.
Because a lot of this was buried in other things within the budget. Like that 140,000 in 2025 was buried in the fire department salaries line. So it wasn't showing as specifically tied to the ambulance with the per diem staffing.
Just another way to be more transparent.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
So I'm new on the budget committee, right? So this is only my second time going through this. Can you just give me a perspective? Because looking at what we did last year, the ambulance contract used to be like $60,000 to $70,000 just a couple of years ago, and then it was 116, and then it was 130, and then last year we spent a lot of time going through the budget, and it kept going up, and then it was 190. So I'm just not understanding, is it because our population is older and we're having more ambulance rides, or is it the reimbursement is lower from the government? What's going on with the ambulance?
So previous to this year, you had a situation that you paid a contract to the town of Plymouth to do your transports 24 hours a day, and you had staffing that were put here to try to mitigate a problem where you had nobody responding during the day as a first responder agency. We were not transporting previous to this year. So you were strictly paying Plymouth. Last year, they asked you, and I may need to get Steve to corroborate this, they asked you to pay $226,000, and you said no. And that's where this formula came with the $50,000 and then the fee per call. And it ended up, because you said no to the 226, you ended up in a negative light. Am I correct, Steve? So valid question, but something they tried to do to mitigate a problem didn't work. And our call volume is gone way up.
So I think that's, so you think just a couple of years ago when we were only paying $76,000 for ambulance, our call volume was
So,
like
About 400.
400?
yeah.
And now our call volume is,
As of midnight, Friday night, we have already done 589 incidents in the town of Ashland this year.
okay, so we.
That's the largest number we have ever done in this town.
Yeah, 3 months ago.
What was it, 2 or 3 years ago, they were getting all the revenue also? When they were doing all the transports, they were keeping the revenue, that's,
Yeah.
so they were getting offset in revenue, that's why they. Plymouth was, right.
So all the other years, Plymouth did all of it?
24/7?
Yes.
But they also get all the revenue. from the
Yes, because,
transports.
yes. So what are we getting for transports? Because that's, is the net amount?
So it's hard to really say because they can only bill something they transport.
Right.
So the month of October, they came down here 13 times. They transported 4. They can only bill 4 of those.
Yeah. But if they came down here 13 times, we're getting charged for 13, but they're only billing 4.
Now,
Because,
we blocked at that too. And we created a situation where if they get canceled in under 6 minutes,
yeah, that they
we're
won't
not,
charge. Right.
that happened 4 times. So you're gonna get billed for 9 out of those 13 this time.
What's driving the increase in the call volume?
It's hard to say. Some of it's the population is aging and people are needing services more frequently. Part of it's,
What, year over year, people are 50% sicker?
and
Yeah, that's what I
let
was.
me finish. And part of it's your lower income people are using services much more than they ever have in the past.
Well, okay, that's what I'm getting at here. We taking people to the hospital because they have a headache or they.
Oh yeah, you'll be surprised what some of these people call for.
Is
And
there
it's-
any screening on that? I mean, do, you know, if.
So as it stands
if I call
right
with a
now,
headache, can I get a ride to the hospital? Or, you know, is somebody gonna say, hey, you know, you don't need a ride to the hospital?
now, we do ask the question, do you have another means of transportation? And if they do, and they can safely get there, and it's not gonna create a problem for them, then they're asked to use that other situation. A lot of these people have no driver's license, have no cars, have no way to get there, but they wanna be seen.
So we're using an ambulance as a taxi service to the hospital.
It happens, it's not just here. It's nationwide, Charlie, it's nationwide.
Okay, so just, I think I got it now, but just let me repeat it to make sure I got it. Roughly, just rough numbers. So if we pay them 50,000 for a contract and there's 500 calls in the air, that's 1,000, I mean, that's 100 per. And then you add in the other, whatever it was, 1,300. So it's around 1,500 or 1,600 per call, something like that. And if the government reimburses you, they only reimburse you on like.
So if it's a Medicare patient.
Yeah, that's like
It's
150 bucks.
168, I think is the
Okay, so
current.
we have to cover 90% of the cost.
That's
And
the
then there's also
unfortunate
the
reality
calls
of the
that don't get
situation.
reimbursed. We have to cover that.
So
That I'm clear now. Thank
as
you.
it stands today, if somebody has private insurance,
Yeah.
they're gonna get charged much more than that, and their insurance will pay probably 70 to 80% of it.
Sure.
Now, the way the Senate law just got passed, with this new transition coming January 1st, you're gonna take that Medicare rate, add 365% to it, and that's what you're gonna get billed. And no mileage, no extra stuff, it's gonna, I think it's gonna hurt worse personally, but
Who's gonna pay, is that gonna be everybody's?
that's gonna be everybody for the next 2 years, from January 1 to 2026 to January 1, 2028. The insurance industry is supposed to be doing a tracking system to see how it's gonna work. They wanted 118%, and it got balked, and we got a much better deal than what they wanted initially.
Okay,
So-
that's great, that's clear. So 365% of like 150, and then we figure out the numbers.
Yeah.
So would you be able at some point, not tonight, but at some point, give an idea of how much you might guesstimate for 2026 you'll be getting reimbursed? Because this is quite a big jump, that's all I'm saying, that's a big jump.
No, I hear you.
Okay, I get it.
So we'll see an offset on that 140,000 salary
Yeah.
on when we do the fire department budget, so that's gonna
You'll see the offset, and when it gets to the fire department salaries, you'll see that adjust. It's close.
be, okay, so we put the 140,000 into this budget, that's part of the 400, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we net out the 140,000, that's really the number that we're increasing to in terms of operation?
Yeah.
So I think we can move on to the fire department.
What are Target Solutions under training? I don't-
Target Solutions, that's an online training platform that we use. So if an EMT has to do 60 hours of continuing education, that they have to have CEU hours for, that platform, they can use that to do all their training with.
Okay. Thank you.
Oh, who's the pre-alert? That's a regular tone. Okay, so.
On fire?
Now, if you look at the fire department salaries, you notice it was at 277, now that's dropped to, if I can read this, 150. So that's where we've made the adjustment. And like I said, the call volume has gone up drastically, so,
That's the balance of the increase,
yep.
just based on providing more services questionably to people who maybe aren't as sick and need this type of service.
That's a reasonable thought process, but it's hard to judge. I mean, we don't know what we're gonna be involved in, and we have to remember we have major thoroughfares, we have a lot of traffic coming through here with the interstate and Route 3, and summertime can be crazy.
Just one more thought. Is there any way of providing alternative transport for people with minor issues or?
Can we call Uber or something? I mean, you know, if somebody's not very sick?
You will not find an Uber or Lyft around here.
Right.
I understand that, but I think that the point that Dave's making, I would make the same thing, is a pretty expensive truck to be using as
And
taxi
if
service.
they have other means, we try to encourage them to use that, so they don't need this kind of bill either, especially if they're part of that lower socioeconomic
What about
climate.
us having other means?
Yeah.
I mean, does somebody make a determination, oh, you don't need an ambulance, but we'll take you there. We'll give you a car ride.
You're assuming some risk there, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of risk there.
Yeah.
Well, somebody has to make a determination, because we're spending a lot of money, and the question is, yeah, look, we all know if someone's sick, we want to get them the best service possible. That's why we're doing this, why we spent all the money on the ambulance. I mean, that was a major expenditure. But, the idea that people are taking advantage of this very expensive service at the taxpayer's expense, I mean, sounds like something that has to be controlled in some way.
And that doesn't happen as much as the perception is.
Well, it went up 50%, and you're saying in 1 year. I mean, it's hard to believe that we're, as a town, we're 50% sicker in that year. So something is a driver here. And I think that it's necessary that we understand, how this is happening, because that's not pocket change anymore.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. And all we can do is continue to look. All right, so that's where you notice the difference. We still have to pay the salaries, and the interesting thing we have right now is if somebody wants to go to a class, we're not paying their hours until after they get completely certified. So, unlike, I'll use the police department's system they send somebody to police academy, they're paying them, and they're paying them with a stipulation of what they're gonna pay back if they choose to leave. Right now, I don't have that. We lost so many people, we stopped paying for their hours to go to classes years ago. But how do I tell somebody that wants to improve themselves that I can't pay them to go to a class? That's not fair. So that's why that salary line needs to stay.
We want to train.
We do.
Okay.
Any other,
We good there?
yeah, any other questions?
If I'm following this right, the next thing should be the 4th of July detail line.
Yeah.
So that had been historically at $3,500. I haven't spent that much in a couple of years, so I dropped that to $2,500. And if it comes in less again next year, I'll drop it again next year. But I mean, I can't justify putting money there that we're not gonna spend.
Next year will be a bigger celebration.
Yeah.
We'll see. And once again, the FICA and Medicare are percentages based off of that. And you'll notice because I moved, if you go to the fire training line, that had been at $7,000 because we moved money into the ambulance where it should have been. That's showing you $5,000. And right now, like I was saying, if I have somebody who wants to go to a class, I just had somebody approach me, and I calculated what it was gonna cost for his class and the hours to pay him. Unfortunately, he decided not to go. It would have been $6,000 just with salary. So I think 5,000 is a good meeting point for that one. And I need to work some stuff out, so. All right, and contracted services, there's a change there as well because we moved the money from the Target Solutions up into the ambulance. So that covers a lot of lines here with warranties on some of our equipment, the supplemental insurance that we pay for the providers, the codes online system I use to do inspections, the Lakes Region computer. I think there's several other things there. So, okay. So the electricity, I increased that a little bit because with what's happening with the power grid, I don't know what my risk is going to be, so I wanted to be on a safer realm here. The heating oil and propane, we have never gone over $10,000, so I dropped that. Rather than put $12,000 there, we haven't hit 10. That is what you said to me, correct?
Yeah, I think 10's the highest you've hit in the last 3 years. So
So
that
that's
and
why,
our contract, our rates went down too.
so,
Okay, great.
and the water and sewer, that's guesstimates the best we could for what was there. Equipment maintenance at $7,000, we're over $4,700 currently. I don't want to reduce that because after this was put together, I have a truck out there that needs some major repairs right now, and I just had to replace an exhaust on it last week that isn't reflected here yet. So,
Great. Just keep going.
so the internet and cable line, that one we had to go up because as it stands right now with the way their rates went up, we're going to exceed what we have in that line this year. Then your fire department vehicle maintenance was at 12, and I've dropped that a little bit because we haven't gone over that one.
It's at 12.
It's at 12.
Yeah, you spent 8468
Yeah.
so far this year.
Yeah, so we left that at 12. Yeah.
Yep.
The telephone, that is usually a set price. And with everything going up, I want to leave that where it is. Because we're pretty close. You'll notice the current expenditure is just shy of 2,300 right now. And we still have a couple months left to go yet. The fire department printing has been at $800 for a long time, and that covers paper, ink cartridges, things like that. We try to do as much as we can electronically, but we still have to print a bunch of stuff, so we need to be able to maintain that stuff. And you'll notice the next line says fire department general expense EMT supply. You'll notice that is recommended at 0 because it's moved into the ambulance line. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It looked like you took a pretty big hit from that spear material loss, like about $2,000 extra.
Yeah.
So,
So, because I used to be able to exchange medications 1 for 1 when they expired, they don't do that anymore. I have to pay for every one of them. So, if you were to have a heart attack and I didn't have the nitroglycerin, you wouldn't like me to come to your house and not be able to provide you the care. So I kind of have to pay that one whether I like it or not. So, all right, and the uniforms protective clothing line is at $8,000. We spent 6. I would like to leave that at 8, because even though we had a grant that we replaced all the turnout gear this year, turnout gear has a life expectancy of 10 years. So I try to replace at least 3 sets a year, and $8,000 is probably a little bit tight for 3 sets right now with what they're charging.
How much was the grant you had? Because you had a bigger
It was
grant last year.
$83,000 that we got. I put 19 sets a year in the station for people that, had the government shutdown not occurred, we might have that money back right now. but-
We did get it in right before that happened.
So,
I just remember it was a big line there. Okay, thank you.
So it is recommended that every firefighter has 2 sets of gear, because if you go on a call, your gear gets contaminated. You come back and it takes a day or 2 to get it back into service.
Okay.
Well, the firefighter would be out of service without the gear. So that's why the chief's working on replacing the second sets that are becoming expired.
Great.
Please.
Prime example, the second set I had, I worked full-time in another fire department that was dated 2008. So that had to be thrown out when the new stuff came.
Right.
So, all right. Fire department supplies line. If I'm reading that right, it says $800. That's paper towels, toilet paper, cleaning supplies, household stuff to use around the station.
Okay, yeah.
And I put that at $1,000. Now, the fire department postage was at $188 that we paid every other year. Because I have per diem staffing here and I have people in this station every day, I'm putting a mailbox on the outside of this building and we're gonna get rid of the post office box. So you see that goes to 0. We're gonna eliminate that line. They can walk outside and pick up the mail for us. And then the fire department fuel was at $12,000. You can see we haven't quite spent 4, so I dropped that to 7. I mean,
Great.
we haven't gone over 7 in the last 4 or 5 years, but when it went up high was several years ago when the OPEC was going crazy and we weren't sure what was gonna happen. It's like $7 a gallon for fuel. But let's do the right thing and put it back where it needs to be. Yep. So the fire department physicals, we've historically left the $500 in there. So if somebody comes through the door that wants to become a volunteer here and they need to go through the hiring process, I might have to send them for a physical. I have been lucky with the people that we've had come through recently that have already had this stuff done, so I haven't had to pay it. Will notice that we took a small fee out of there this year to pay for, I think it was a background check we ended up having to do. We took it out of that line because it was part of the hiring process, which is where that physical money was tied to. So if we leave that where it is, I'd greatly appreciate that. And then fire department equipment, that's if we need to replace hose or tools that are worn out, that's what that line's for.
Portable pumps.
Yes, I have a portable pump out there that's, I don't think there's anybody in this room that's as old as that pump is. And it's beginning to give us great issues that needs to be replaced. And that one item at a list price is $8,500 anyway.
Dues.
The mutual aid dues. They are going up again. And the figure you have in front of you is the figure I was provided just last week, is what it's gonna cost us next year, which is tied directly to the valuation. Went up by 4.8%. The chief coordinator wanted 8.9% to hire another employee. I was one of the majority to vote against him, so I tried to save you money. Fortunately, we won this time. And then your buildings and grounds expenses.
Forestry.
Oh, forestry, did I jump over something?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Forestry equipment.
Forestry hand tools.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so that replaces the Nomex shirts and pants, hand tools, and that kind of stuff. That we actually buy from the state's Forest Service, where we get a really good rate on it, so
Yep.
we should be good there to leave that at 1,000. And then the buildings and grounds are maintenance in the building and major renovations, that kind of stuff. Windows, anything we need to do.
Wait, that one I did have a question on. I just
Yeah.
wondered, just because we had spent more on that, I'm just looking at it from last year. Right?
Yep.
So we spent like 9 grand on that in 2021, and then we were only spending like 3 grand in 22 and 23, so I was kind of
So-
hoping it would go down.
So, the 9 grand figure,
Yeah.
this exterior wall needed to have some major masonry reconstruction done to it.
Okay.
So we didn't lose the bottom outside of this building. So it did go down from what it was that year. But we have a bunch of things that still need to be done here. The fire extinguisher inspection gets done out of that, furnace cleaning, and any plumbing issues. I just had to replace a hot water heater in this building a couple months ago that was almost $3,000 all in one hit.
Exterior lighting.
Yeah, and the exterior lighting, I have an issue out here. If you go out there and look, I have, between one of the 2 bays, I have a light that's dangling. I need an electrician in here to take a look at it because I'm not playing with electricity.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And the fire department grants, that had been at $5,000, and that figure was used to pay the town's portion of any grant we had gotten. I currently don't have any grants in process, so we want to leave it all there just to leave that line open so we don't close it out. So should a grant come available, there's something we can say, hey. So I think the next thing is emergency management, correct? So forgive my error. The $7,000 was a figure that was put there when we had to have major repairs done to the generator. That should be $1,000, not $7,000. That's an error on my part. I didn't catch it. We still are having, even though the repairs were done, we're still having some issues with the generator currently. Although it's functioning the way it should, it seems to be sucking up a lot of antifreeze, so I have to have somebody look at that again soon. Because I'm not sure why it's using antifreeze. It shouldn't be. Any other questions?
Do we have something that we're putting away for equipment replacement?
We have not yet, but we do have a capital reserve fund. I gotta write the warrant article to do that.
Okay, so we're maintaining that fund for equipment replacement?
Yeah. That's always been done under the capital reserve account.
Outside the budget?
So there's an engine out there right now that it failed its pump test this year. So we're setting a truck committee together. Hopefully by next year, I can come in front of you and say, hey, this is what we need to start looking at. And looking at what another department locally did, it just cost them $1 million for a fire engine this time.
That's the concern.
And it's a legitimate concern.
Costs are major, and we need to make sure we're prepared for it incrementally, because $1 million would be hard to swallow in one go.
Especially in this town. Yeah.
It's a 3-year build time once you place the order.
So I can do some repairs to limp this one along, but knowing it failed its pump test, it's time to start looking to replace it.
Just a question that has nothing to do with the budget. It failed its pump test, but it will still pump water.
It will still pump water.
Okay.
I do have, because the standard is it can be 10% outside the range, and it was like 17%. It's still gonna pump water. It's still gonna do what it needs to do. It just can't do it as effectively as it should.
It does hurt your NFPA rating though.
Yes, and NFPA and ISO ratings are directly tied to those things. And I did get an email from ISO today that I'm meeting with them the first part of December, so.
Oh, great.
Oh, good.
I've been through that process a couple of times.
So has anybody got any further questions for the chief?
No, thank you.
Let's move on with the police budget.
So what I'll go down and I'll talk about any major changes or any changes between the lines, because we have a bunch that have stayed flat and haven't been touched in terms of there's no influx or decrease to them. So the first two lines are salary lines. First one covers myself and lieutenant, the second one covers the union salaries for the rest of the officers. The union stuff, I think everybody's aware that we're going through union negotiations right now, so that increase is based on 3%, but right now, nobody knows exactly where that's going to end up. And there is a contingency fund, correct me if I'm wrong, that covers the discrepancy there for the union.
It'll be a separate warrant article.
Warrant article.
When you vote, you'll see it as a separate warrant article. There'll be one for the union contract, separate from the budget.
With the union contract, if it was voted on, would include a 3%, would include a 3% raise, right?
Yeah, we're just doing a 3% in all of the union lines to show where it is potentially going, and then what will end up happening is we'll drop down to actuals once we know as a separate warrant article. So
But what-
pending no agreement came, which we don't anticipate that, then the departments are just budgeting in a 3% as a placeholder.
But for the budget committee, are we going to vote this 3% in, and then it's going to, I'm confused.
No, we would do the difference of it in the separate warrant article.
So if we put in 3% and then they agree upon 4%, that 1% change is in the warrant article.
No, the 4% would go in the warrant article.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so,
This is a placeholder to show what we're anticipating for next year, but we'll back it out for when we find out what the actual contract is going to be.
okay, I'm just wondering about the process for the budget committee. And at some point, we have to vote on a budget with this line in it.
Yep,
Which is in January.
but the agreement will be coming before the end of the budget cycle.
So then the numbers would change, and you would send something out.
Right.
Okay. I'm just wondering about the timing of those two things. How do they?
They'll finish negotiations before you make the decision.
Yes, so like 3 years ago when we did this, we had the tentative agreement, 'cause it's tentative until it's voted, the tentative agreement in place so we knew what it was going to be, so we kept that outside of the budget. So the department heads were instructed to do a 3% as a placeholder for that anticipation, but it'll be removed and put into a union contract warrant article. So if you were to look back at 2023 was our last one, you'll see that there's the budget and then there's a second warrant article to approve the union contract, and then those amounts were added to the budget. So this was just a placeholder. It will go away once we know what that is.
So the real number is something lower than this. I mean, no.
Well, so it's the current year budget
Right.
plus 3%.
Plus 3%. But the 3%, if the union salary contract is agreed, is going to be in that separate one, right?
Correct.
Okay. So at some point, the budget committee has to remove the 3%.
Well, we'll remove it before it gets to you because we'll have finished our agreement.
Okay. I'm just wondering on the timing of us voting on the, well, I mean, will this be done before the public hearing, the budget committee's public hearing?
It'll be done before the Board of Selectmen votes their version of the budget and gives it to the Budget Committee, which is typically done the beginning of November.
Oh, but so very soon.
Beginning of December.
Right,
all
so
right,
we're
all right.
anticipating to finish up that contract. If everything works out, which, there's movement there. The next meeting for us is November 17th to do the utility budgets. We'll review any changes that may have occurred from the other budgets, if somebody got something in that they've been waiting for. We are anticipating to have the board vote this budget at their first meeting of December. At that point, it would go over to the budget committee. So pending that, we should have our information for the union contract.
Okay, all right. I got it now.
I had a more general question. The 3% seems to tie with what I've seen as far as cost of living. from the federal government. It's almost exactly the same. I was wondering why the senior salaries went up so much higher than that.
Well, we've had some staff changes, like if you're looking at the PD salaries, we actually have a brand new lieutenant, so he's at a potentially different rate than prior. We also have some department contracts that have changes in them that reflect what they negotiated. So that's kind of why they're a little different. Everybody has kind of a different agreement. So there may be ones that get overtime over a certain amount of hours if it's in excess. So we have to factor that in.
So how does the first police salaries break down? Police chief and lieutenant, you know?
Will, what's your name?
Okay.
It's by my contract, and then the lieutenant position based on a 3% increase from prior.
All right.
Any other questions? No? Okay. The overtime line, we base that, it's a 3-year average, and we're seeing a number of different things happen, which with current legislation, we're hoping changes some things a little bit. The police chiefs have argued that this bear reform that happened several years ago has failed miserably, which it has failed miserably. And so what we're seeing is folks going to court are not being held accountable, and then they are going to court 2, 3, 4, 5 times. We just discussed in a case today where we've sent an officer to court 3 times where the defendant did not show up, and we have to pay a 3-hour minimum to our officer at overtime rate to go. So we've paid 9 hours of overtime, and that hasn't even seen trial. So with that, based on a 3-year average, our call volume, same with the fire department, has drastically increased. Our arrest numbers have drastically increased. With that, we end up in court a lot more, people fighting everything, because what they're seeing is that if they fight it, they go to court, they either get released or they can continue it or just not show up, and then it just delays the whole process. So we're seeing that we're sending people to court 3, 4, 5 times for one hearing based on they don't show up. So with that, we've seen that line go up. Like I said, I've sent one of our officers to court 3 times in the last 4 months for one defendant that hasn't shown up a single time yet. And so we'll end up sending him again because it still hasn't gone to trial. So we'll send him again to another hearing, and hopefully the guy shows up this time, but they're not being held accountable for that kind of stuff. So hopefully with the new legislation, we'll see that can go down a little bit. But right now, that's just the status quo, and that's across the board for everybody. So we have seen that line go up because of our activity level and because of those kinds of things in the court process. Part-time wages, we've kept that flat, no increase there. 4th of July, also flat. FICA, Medicare, that's all based on salaries.
Why on the 4th of July, the actual is closer to 5,000, but why are we keeping it at 10? Is there something that we don't know?
As I've explained the last few years, we are stuck because of insurance. We are stuck paying out. So we used to have them basically become our employees. We used to have them do I-9s, W-4s. We could control the rate a lot more that way because we could just say you're getting X number of dollars per hour, and that's the rate. What we've had to do now, as previously mentioned the last few years, is we have to pay them their rates. So we can put a cap on it to say it's a max billing of this. And what happens is sometimes other agencies don't bill at that rate, and it comes in lower, so we make out there. And a lot of the detail hours are filled by our personnel, which means that we don't have to pay the administrative fee and those other things associated with that. But if we have people tied up, we had last minute, one of our guys was sick and couldn't make a certain shift, so we had to fill that with an officer from another town. So if we went at that, well, our rate would be, without those administrative fees and everything else, which is all based on an hourly basis, if we had done that, we would likely go over. So we base this on 15 officers for the fireworks and 10 officers for the parade. So we have the max billing rate, and then we times it by those those officers. Sometimes we don't get 15 and 10. Sometimes we do. Sometimes we get our people to fill a vast majority of those shifts. Sometimes we can't. So it all depends on kind of how the billing works. So we have to schedule it or budget it as kind of a worst case scenario. If every agency does the max billing for the max hours that we have, that's what we have to base the rate on so that we don't go over. We could lower it at the risk of not having, not covering it.
We have several past years of information. I mean, we used to show several years back so you could get some kind of perspective instead of.
Well,
We have it, it was
one shot.
20 in 2024, 2025, we had it in there at 20.
Well, we do have past how many officers we get. However, last 2 years ago was the first time we started doing this style of billing. So all the previous numbers, if we look at the dollar amounts, we were paying them our rate. So the rates that we have to bill out at now in order to get anybody to come, which is still showing to be increasingly more difficult, if we go back to past history, it's not going to reflect at the same rate. So I mean,
Our
it's.
circumstances are different. Is that what you're telling us? And what, the situation you have to deal with today is not what it was 3 years ago.
Correct. Yeah.
I think this is our only second or budget cycle doing it this
I
way.
think this is the
It's
second-
24 and
this is the second or
25, so we
third.
really only have 1 year of actuals
Yeah,
to look
compare
at.
it to. Because prior to that, we were paying them, you know, if it was, we have a detail rate, call it $50 an hour, and then there's an administrative fee in there for $20 an hour. So the billing rate there is $70 an hour. When we were paying people, we were wiping out that administrative rate. So we were just paying the straight $50 an hour. Now we have to account for their administrative fee, which is generally speaking about $20 an hour. And that's, again, per hour, so for every hour that somebody's there, it's $20 that isn't even going to the officer, it's their administrative fee for billing and all that. In order to make it competitive, we have to consider the average detail rate in the area. If we do it, 50 is probably the lowest in the area. Our detail rate for government entities is $60 an hour, plus the administrative fee. So I think that this number, I can pull it up real fast, I can tell you what the rate was based on. It's based on $80 an hour, so $60 an hour to the officer, and then a $20 administrative rate, because that is what our government agency rate is. So again, we have to account for the max number of officers at that $80 rate. Oftentimes, with our folks covering it, that extra $20 rate is gone because we're not charging ourselves that rate. And so we have to count on them billing us that rate. And so that's where that discrepancy comes into play. So we kind of budget for the worst and hope for the best. And in this line, that's what you're seeing. We were short. We had a couple of cancellations for both the fireworks and the parade this year. So the numbers were brought down a couple. We didn't actually fill all 15 spots for the fireworks. And then we, like I said, we had a couple few people bail out on us last minute. So we didn't even have full coverage. I won't say thankfully the fireworks didn't go off as planned, but when that happens and people leave, it does take a little bit of the brunt off of us. So it's not good for the public display, but for us it makes things a bit easier. So that's where those numbers all come from. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think about it, just to be sure, the 4,800 and change is what was actually incurred this year.
Yes.
At the fire, at the 4th of July.
That's correct. Next year, it could be double that, it could be about the same. It's, with our line of work, a lot of things are guesstimates and unknowns.
You have to do what you have to do.
So we have to, we like I said, I mean, for this line, we budget for the worst and hope for the best. And I'd rather budget for more and come in under than be over. That brings me down, I think, to equipment maintenance. We kept that flat. One thing I'll note is that was significantly up a couple of years ago based on our contract that we had for body cameras. body cameras and in-car cameras. That whole system changed. If you remember last year, I mentioned that they wanted $67,000 to update our system for body cameras and for in-car cameras. So I ended up putting it out there to the whole chief's listserv to ask if anybody had any of the equipment that we currently have in case something went down, because we were not on a contract, a service agreement any longer. So that's why it stays flat, and the body cameras were in there along with the in-car cameras. All of our camera systems were in that line prior. We have moved that out, and I'll talk about that in 3 more lines, because we moved everything over, and I'll explain why in just a minute. But that did remain flat. If you were to go back a few years, you would see that that line was significantly higher. I don't have the numbers in front of me for a few years ago, but I know that that number was up. Our computer system maintenance, for some strange reason, a huge benefit to using our current IT systems personnel or vendor, we were able to knock that line down for the same, if not better, coverage. So I think it probably, Marissa, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm kind of speculating a little bit, but we brought pretty much all of our systems on to Lakes Region Computer. And I imagine that we got a little bit of a discount because we have so much on there. Is that the case?
Yeah, so the Lakes Region Computer services all of the town's IT stuff, and we've been working on moving phones and cameras all over to them, so.
So that line
Typically
actually
you
went
spend
down
more.
a little bit, which is great.
Yeah.
Because that line is always, we have, everything is based on computers and IT these days, so that's kind of a crazy line.
That's line 430?
432,
Yeah, and that also includes a one-time purchase of a laptop.
correct.
So,
Because that was like $18,000 last year, now it's only 2?
No. You're back, 430 was 2 to 2, that stayed the same.
Okay.
If you go to the next line down, computer system maintenance, that went from 18,850
Yep.
to 18,680.
Okay.
So not a huge difference, but it did go down a little bit.
Thank you.
The vehicle maintenance line, I've kept that the same. It is you base it on a 3-year average. There's a couple of things. There's 2 sets of tires that line is up probably, I would say probably $1,500 more expended than what's showing there. We've ordered another set of tires, and we had to do another big bulk purchase of oil for our oil changes. That line is a little bit of a wild card because a couple of our vehicles are getting up there in age. We are currently not driving our truck right now because of an issue. I just had to dump, so the truck was supposed to go last year, and the Charger that I drive was supposed to go this year. Neither of those happened because of our wonderful year of having to buy 2 cars because of that lemon from Ford. So we milled kind of the pickup truck and the Charger that I drive an extra year, which has proven to be a problem. I just dumped $1,800 into the Charger I drive for some major repairs, because that has to get us till next year. And the truck, we're trying to get rid of as soon as possible for a couple of issues that are going on with that as well. So after we replace those 2 cars, we should see that doesn't get expended quite as rapidly. But you never know with these cars; they do get driven pretty hard. So we keep up on the maintenance, but they do run into issues here and there. We seem to get nails in tires on a fairly regular basis, which I don't know how that happens. But somehow or another, we end up blowing tires all the time. I blew one 2 weeks ago on the interstate. So the equipment purchase line, 452, that line has gone up a little bit, but this is the one where I wanted to talk a little bit about the camera systems. So we have switched over from these cameras. The $67,000 quote that we got for this company, which is WatchGuard, overseen by Motorola Solutions, They quoted us at $67,435 for 6 cameras alone. That's no cruiser cameras, that's just 6 of these little guys right here. What we have done, we went to Axon, which is the parent company for Taser, who also makes body cameras. Their technology is tenfold better than WatchGuard's, what we're currently using. And the initial quote we got from them, combining our Taser contract and body cameras, was $72,764 and some change, versus WatchGuard Motorola Solutions, $67,435 for just 6 cameras. With the lengthy back and forth with Axon, we were able to get our Taser contract renewed and 7 body cameras for $47,041.47. So we knocked that down almost in half. So even though that equipment purchase line went up less than $2,000, what, like $1,600, we're getting 7 brand new body cameras, and we're renewing our Taser contract for 5 years at a locked-in rate, and we're only seeing an increase of $1,600. So I was thrilled to have that happen versus the $67,435 that we were looking at for just cameras. And that was, again, that was only for 6 cameras. Add a little bit more to that, a couple $1,000s for an additional camera. So I was pretty thrilled with that. We got discounts upon discounts, and with going with Axon, and again, their technology is far superior. So we're pretty happy about that. The telephone line, we knocked it in half. Because that is, as Marissa had just mentioned, we're consolidating a lot of things, and we had a lot of different vendors. By consolidating down, we're also getting Lakes Region Computers to take over our fax line, and there's some magic there working that technology is way beyond my skill set, which is why we hire them. So they were actually there today looking at our lines to try to figure out what they can and can't do, and with a couple of equipment pieces that were a couple $100. They're not even. They're going to take over that fax line, and we're able to knock that down pretty significant, cut in half, based on them taking that line over and getting rid of a couple of these other vendors that we were dealing with before. Our cell phone line stays the same. I knocked the dues line down by $100. So cut that out a little bit. And our uniform line, knocked that down. The previous year, we had a couple of vests scheduled in there. We are in the process of trying to hire an officer right now. So next year, we will have to fully upfit that person with uniforms. And one of these vests is about $1,000 a whack. So I initially brought that line back down to where it was a couple years ago, and then realized that we're going to be hiring another officer once we got some changes coming to the PD. And so we bumped it up a little bit to cover that fully upfitting. If we just have to replace uniforms as they go bad, like we have been the last couple of years, it's not terribly expensive. When you have to fully upfit somebody from zero, it's very expensive. So whether we hire somebody brand new with no certification, or we hire somebody who is already certified, we still got to get them all new uniforms. So one way or another, that is a costly endeavor, and that's one that we're going to be faced with this coming year. The supplies line, kept that flat. Gas line also flat. Medical services also flat. Equipment, that's also flat. I think everything else here is flat. Police dispatch actually went down, which is, I don't want to say unheard of, but it's unheard of. Those are contracts that we have, and it's based on a 5-year average with our dispatch center. And that is, if anybody that's been on the committees for a little while now, the boards for a little bit, may remember that last year I mentioned that I used a neighboring agency as an example where their dispatch fees went up $8,000 last year, and ours went up last year, and ours went up, I think, $600. And we have done a number of changes at the police department for how we log things and code things and document things ourselves. And by doing that, we're not using our dispatch center as much. So every time we contact dispatch, it creates what's called a call for service. The more calls for service we have, the more our rates go up. So by not calling everything into dispatch and by logging it ourselves the way that we have been doing it, that's creating less calls for service, which means our fees go down. Since I've been at this agency, we have never seen the dispatch line go down. This is the first time I've ever seen that happen. So it's not down a lot, but just the fact that it didn't go up is pretty good. So I'm more than thrilled with that. The next line down, the prosecutor line, it went up just a little bit. It is based on a 3-year average, and it's based on numbers. So our prosecuting association runs on a fiscal year, so all of the numbers have not been calculated just yet. So this is kind of the worst case scenario of what we're going to run into for cost. I honestly don't know if I'll actually have those numbers prior to this going through to the selectmen voting and then to the budget committee voting. So it's only up about it's up like $900 or less. It's not up a lot, but I don't anticipate that we're actually going to spend that full amount of the $23,500. And but I don't know that I'll have the actual number to base it on prior to any of this stuff kind of going through the process. And then the last two lines, the SOU and the miscellaneous lines have stayed flat.
How many towns are in the prosecutor system?
I think we are up to 9. So the way that works is there is a, air quote, a buy-in rate. So every agency has to pay X number of dollars to be a member of the association, and then it's based on usage from there. So the towns that obviously have more usage are paying a little bit more because that's obviously taking the time from the prosecutor more than some other agencies. So, you know, we have everything from Warren and Wentworth in there that may put a case or two through per year to us that puts through about 100 plus cases through a year. So, you know, our fees are going to be higher than those other agencies. We're one of the higher, one of the more active agencies in our association. So our fees are a little bit higher than everybody else. Any other questions for that? Any other questions for any other line that I kind of don't want to get flat? No?
I just had a quick question to remind myself, because it's, you know, it's gone up like 45% over the last 3 years. So can you just remind me, are the calls going up, the arrest numbers going up?
Yeah.
What are those like rough numbers so I would have a feel for
Well, I can't tell you the calls for service off the top of my head.
whatever you
But I can tell you our arrests, I think last year we totaled in the mid-60s, and we're already in the upper 80s right now.
60.
And Mason just released somebody right now.
Thank you.
It's pretty much a daily occurrence right now. It's that time of year.
Is there a reason for that?
It fluctuates. This tends to be a busier time of year as it gets colder and people get a little bit more animated and the holidays are coming up. We start to see them flux.
You've got more this year than previous years.
Yeah, we have a younger crew, a little bit more active, and where our calls for service that are ending in arrests are up. So, you know, I mean, calls for service could be anything from a callback request or a barking dog to a major incident. And sometimes we're hauling 2 or 3 people out in custody. Our calls for service that are resulting in arrests are up this year. I can't tell you the numbers off the top of my head, but they are up. And I wouldn't be surprised if we haven't topped 100 arrests in a while. I wouldn't be surprised if we tick over the 100 mark this year. We're on that progression right now. And it's not all just because of our activity. A lot of it is the calls we're going to. I'd say it's probably close to a 50-50 mix of officer-initiated stuff that ends in results in an arrest, versus something that we're called to that ends in arrest. And we're also seeing situations these days where we are, more so than we've had in the past, that we're arresting the same people over and over and over again. And I think that lends to that bail reform that I touched on earlier, where there's just not that accountability that there used to be. And so people are pushing the envelope a little bit more and trying to get away with more, because in the last several years, that's kind of been the trend. So hopefully the new legislation will turn that around, and the bail reform going away will kind of hold more people accountable and be more of a deterrent than it has been in the past.
Chief, is there any revenue offset, I mean, when you're ticketing people, or do we get any of that?
So ticketing goes to fund certain things in the state. So we don't get anything back from like your regular motor vehicle speed tickets or stuff like that. If we issue a town ordinance violation summons, that does come back to the town. Parking ticket revenue comes back to the town, into the general fund. We see revenue come back from details, and we have a couple officers that have been cranking out details very regularly the last few months from other agencies. We've proven ourselves to other surrounding agencies that have a lot of details that we're reliable, and they are looking for us. They call on us a lot more now than they used to go to those towns to do details, so that generates revenue for the town. And I mean, we're not a revenue generating agency. Generally speaking, law enforcement does not do that, but there are some things here and there that do bring some money back to the town. Not a lot, but there's some, the dog tickets and stuff like that we put out there for different things, or town ordinance kind of stuff, and that will come back as a revenue to the town. I think that's it for revenue.
Well, and you've got the highway safety grant that we're going to be doing.
That's correct.
too.
Yeah, we are, so fiscal year '26, we were able to start up just this month.
Yep.
November 1, we started with that highway safety grant that I asked the board to authorize previously. And so that kicks in, and that does generate some revenue. It's it's a reimbursement at time and a half at overtime rate, and then we can also offset that cost with a few other things. So if we might be able to get some funding in '26 for like some tires for cruisers, based on that we use those cruisers for these grants. And there's some things along those lines that we might be able to get covered that we normally would have to expend ourselves. So it doesn't necessarily generate revenue for us, but it's less that we have to expend out of our budget to buy those things that we would have to buy anyway. So we can replace an MDT if it goes down, the computer in the car, tires and things of that nature.
Have any estimate of what that might be in this current year, for example? I know it changed.
I don't know, because we didn't, we did that grant 2 years ago, year and a half ago, whatever it was. We weren't aware of how much we could actually put in for through that grant for reimbursement. And after the fact, they came back and said, "You left a lot of money on the table." And I'm like, "Where were you like 6 months ago to tell me that?" Where I could have bought some stuff. And so we have a better understanding now of what some of the things that we can try to get reimbursement for. So I don't have a number for you, but we are definitely hoping to utilize that a lot more than we had in the past.
So I had the same questions written down. With the new software that we're using, in the future, is there a way for us to just understand where these cost savings, let's call them, instead of revenue generators?
That's a question for...
Yeah, I mean, so this is the first year of setting it up.
Yeah.
So really, this information that we're putting in is our first crack at trying to put our narratives inside the system. So I don't see why we couldn't elaborate more.
Because it could be a
some of those
donation, it
items.
could be a grant, it could be some special program. If there was just a report, not just for this department, but for the other departments too, because even if it was just 10 grand here, 5 grand there, it would add up.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously everything would have to be based off of if we know we have grants coming, applying for or such. But I don't see why we couldn't enter that information as well.
Great.
Yeah. You also have animal control.
I don't have the printout for that, but the
It's
number
the
stayed the
exact
same, right?
same number.
So the animal control line, I don't know the number of that. and I definitely cannot read that
$1,133.
screen from here. It's the same, I know that, and that's our agreement with the Humane Society, so if we take an animal in, a loose dog running around, we tend to hold that animal for a little while and do our best to try to find out who the owner is. In the past, the Lakes Region Vet has been very good about holding an animal for a little while so that we don't have to truck it down to the Humane Society. But at a certain point, we often have to bring an animal down there. And it is, I don't know where they come up with the numbers for that. I think it's just kind of their community partner agreement. And so we do have to utilize their services. Oftentimes, we end up down there after hours when we have no other way of handling that animal. We certainly can't house it overnight ourselves. So they end up running down to the Humane Society. Then eventually, when the owner calls us, we say, go get your dog down there. And then we don't have to worry about it, because that can be, we've seen people go down there to get their dog 3 days later, which I don't know how they do that, but how you don't realize your dog's gone for 3 days before calling the police department is beyond me. But that's the longest we've seen it go before is 3 days. Usually it's a few hours, and that's why we tend to try to hold on to them ourselves. I have often driven around with my unannounced canine partner for a little while in the back of my car as I drive around, obviously only with good dogs. Otherwise, we end up trucking them down there. So that's that animal control line. It's just strictly the contract we have with Humane Society.
Does anybody have any further questions for the chief?
Thank you, Chief.
Very much.
Thank you, chief. Greg?
Okay, finally. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So I'll do like Will did. I'll go down through with all the changes, but the first part of this is all salaries, and everything's like everything else is 3% and contracts and things of that sort. Did anybody get any questions on salaries and stuff?
So the superintendent's salary is a contract?
Yeah, well, I'm contracted now. Yep. So, other than the salaries, the next line probably is a training. We'll just keep that the same. We haven't gone to any, we've gone to some training, but some of the training that's available hasn't changed in so many years, and we've kind of taken just about every single class, so, but they are doing some new stuff this year, so there might be some available training this spring that we can go to. Computers, we kind of kept that line the same because I'm hoping we can get a computer for Shelley down at the transfer station so I can actually email her things and she can see that stuff that's going on, and she can correspond with me and our vendors and stuff like that. So hopefully we get internet down there. We're working on that right now, so.
We should know this week.
We should know. If it's not available, we can eventually cut that line, but I'm hoping to get a computer down there for Shelley. So we kept that the same for computers. Professional dues, you're gonna see that line's gone up a little bit. I believe we used to share this with Andrew a little bit, because not only is this for the Public Works Association, it's for the mutual aid. But I'm just gonna keep paying that, I think. Sometimes he pays it and sometimes we do, but that reflects what we pay for mutual aid and the Public Works Association to be members. Office supplies, I think we're gonna go down to 400 on that one. I just don't use 600 anymore. So that's good. That's toner, and mostly toner because it's so expensive to toner. Expenses, we're gonna go up a little bit because we went over. That's all the miscellaneous stuff like physicals, DOT cards, things of that sort, mileage reimbursements for things, trainings and stuff. Drug testing's always hit or miss. We never know how many people are gonna get picked. Sometimes nobody gets picked, and sometimes there could be 3 guys in my department that get picked. Could be an electric department that gets picked. So it's always up and down. You never know who's gonna get picked, so we stayed about $1,000 on that one.
And the tests are different prices.
Yeah, sometimes you get picked for just a drug test, sometimes it's a urine test, and it's all random, and we contract with the clearinghouse to do that. It's all federally mandated. So that's that. So go on to the highways and streets. So street improvements is our grant from the federal, state government. So that's actually revenue, but we still budget for it. So this year, it's more than it was 54. They actually given us more money this year. Electricity and heat, you're gonna see those lines. We're doing a rate study, so that is probably gonna go down, but we're not sure, so it's just a placeholder right now at 4,800. But with the electric rate study. The heat, that's heat for the buildings. Equipment maintenance, we went up a little bit. All of my equipment down there is starting to get pretty old, and it's cost a lot. Like, we have equipment from the 80s down there. 2 pieces of equipment from the 80s. So anytime something breaks, it's a lot to get it fixed, especially if we can't do it ourselves. And
What's the replacement policy, Craig? I mean, you know, things are getting old and they cost more to fix than to buy.
well, we don't have a policy. If we start doing the
CIP.
CIP, well, then we would have one. But right now we try to hold on to it until like the parts don't become available anymore. So I'm talking about like our grader, it's from the 80s, and the backhoe's from the 80s. They're just old. Some ways it's good because there's no electronic features in those things, and we can fix a lot of that. But some of the other aging equipment, like is electronic, and we have to get Cat to come up or John Deere to come up, and it's so expensive to get that. So
Well, it sounds like a grader would be easy cheaper to fix than go out and buy a new grader. So,
yeah, grader's $1 million.
Yeah.
So
You don't use it that often.
we twice a year we use it, once in the spring and once right now we're going to go out and do some winter grading. So we don't need any. I would never buy a new grader for you guys. We would buy a used. We bought a used one for $30,000.
Running into a truck or a vehicle that has some utility, but you can't afford a new one.
Yeah, I mean, for that particular piece of equipment, I would never buy a piece. Someday our excavators are 2001, the wheeled one. That's very expensive to fix, and we put a lot of money into the solenoid goes, or the pistons that hold it up to keep it stable. One of those failed last year, so that's a giant piston up there like that they had to fix. And that's expensive, but we use that thing all summer long, so we assist the water and sewer with it all the time. We dig for pole setting and stuff. We use it all summer, so that's something.
Sounds like a CIP is going to be interesting to you.
That's right, the CIP, if we can put things like that on a CIP and get it into a routinely, like this gets replaced this year, then we can plan for it. And I know we're gonna work on that. But it's just right now, it costs a lot to maintain. We have a lot of equipment in the Public Works Department, a ton of it. So that equipment line is all the equipment other than a vehicle. So the vehicle expenses, same thing, we have a lot of old vehicles as well, like 2016 pickup that we beat on because it's, the plows. We've been plowing a 2011 one-ton, needed a lot of work. So we've gone over on that, so we've increased that a little bit. Well, actually, I'm gonna keep that the same. I hope to get rid of my 2011 550 this year, which is, I've dumped a lot of money in annually on that truck, so that's why I didn't go up anymore on that vehicle line. Hopefully I can get rid of it. Telephone, we're gonna get rid of that, right?
Well, we decreased it to 300. You
Yeah.
still have a phone.
Yeah, we still have a phone.
Craig had a fax line that he didn't need,
Yeah.
and copper's being phased out, so we got him on the same platform as the rest of the town, so that'll see a significant decrease.
Advertisements in case we need a new person. Summer maintenance, I'm gonna keep the same. I think I can keep everything going with that. It says 21,000, but I've added a lot of stuff lately to that. We had to replace a couple culverts that I didn't expect to replace up on Thompson Street. Uniforms, it's per union contract. They're getting some stuff, so we've actually expended a little bit more on that coming up, but that's per the union contract. Supplies, just like everybody else, it's toilet paper, cleaning supplies, things of that sort. Fuel line, I expect we're pretty good on that, but we still have to get through November and December for plowing. So I expect that to be pretty competitive. Traffic improvements is highway signs, stop signs, street signs, things of that sort. I have to put it in order before the end of the year. I got a couple signs to replace. And I'm all out of U-channel and things of that sort, so if the budget allows, I'll be buying some more of that kind of stuff. Mechanic stuff, that's all salary.
Yeah, highway equipment.
I skipped the highway equipment line?
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
that's okay.
Yeah, that equipment line, let me see. Oh, yeah, the back side of that. Yeah, so the equipment is new equipment. Like, I think I got we keep wearing out trailer tires. I think I got a bent axle on just for instance, on my landscaping trailer that hauls the lawnmowers. I think the lawnmowers are too heavy for it. So I think we're gonna have to replace that. We wanna try to get a new mower head this year to try to get a used one from MB, and we might put that on the excavator instead of renting the big tractor every year. That cost me about $3,500. So MB's got a rental that we might be able to attach to our excavator and use that. So it's all just new equipment that's what that line's for. Yeah, winter maintenance, that's our salt, sand line, things like that. So I think we can get by with it unless we have
Why are we projecting that below this year's actual?
what's that?
You're projecting that below the current year actual?
That's because.
Yeah, you want me
Yeah, you can, it's just an artificial number in there.
So in the new software, they have the ability to do purchase orders. When they do a purchase order, it calls it an encumbrance, which means that it takes it out of the available budget. I think that Craig has had a few invoices not get ticked off on the purchase order. So it's not quite a true number.
Yeah, right now, the
Expend.
actual is not 91. I bet I have about.
No, I think it's like 66.
Yeah, like I have enough money, so it really, it's maybe 67,000 right now. So I have enough to get me through. So originally it was 88,000. I've only expended about 67,000 of that, and I have enough to get me through November and December.
Yeah.
So how does that 91 get corrected?
So we have to release the purchase order to it. Basically what it does is it takes it out of the department head's eye of like, oh, I have that available, and it puts it into a kind of a separate category that says like, you haven't quite spent this, but you will be spending it, so we're gonna remove it from your
So
available balance.
I made out a purchase order this last year for like $70,000.
Yeah.
And it shows that that's got added to it. But I haven't spent all of it.
And you don't plan to?
No, but it's just how the system works. It's a weird number.
You need to close out the purchase order to release it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a blanket purchase order, that's
Yeah.
why.
So if you look at your revenue or expenditure and revenue reports they give you each month, you'll actually see all of the lines for each of these, and you'll see there's a line that says encumbrance, and
Yep.
that's that purchase
It's
order.
encumbered, yeah.
It's adding it as an expenditure, so it's
Yeah.
taking it out of
It
the
takes
available balance.
Means the money's
Yeah.
not available.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's not real. Building expenses, 3,500, and that's for, like everybody else's. I get my furnace cleaned, the fire extinguishers. I think I'm gonna, if I have time this year, I might paint one of the mechanics' floors where the lift is so we can actually sweep it and stuff. So it's just building maintenance. Any questions on that kind of stuff? That's the highway stuff. Any questions on it? So this is the mechanics. the first 4 lines of just salary. The general expense, that's all what he, welding wire, things of that sort he might need, gas for the welders and things of that sort. The uniforms, you see that's gone down. We used to have a uniform contract, and right now he's not using that, so the 500's in there in case we need to buy him some fire-rated shirts so he can weld with. Used to be we contracted with somebody to wash his stuff, but he didn't want to use that service anymore, so that's in there just in case I need to buy him a new shirt, and Justin a new shirt. Whoever welds needs fire-resistant clothing for that. The equipment is like new stuff we need to replace. He might need a new tool that's broken, a new impact gun, or something breaks during the year. We'll get him a new gun or something like that. And that kind of stuff's pretty expensive. So that's the equipment. That's the mechanic equipment. Any questions on the mechanic stuff? Move on to the solid waste stuff. Let's see. So the first 1, 2, 3, 4 lines are all salaries. And then we'll go down to training. So every year we have to go through training to get our certificates done. So that's what it costs us to get our scale certifications, solid waste certifications, and things of that sort. Licenses, required licenses to operate the transfer station from the DES. Scale cert is for I have because it's part of it's a weighing device. The New Hampshire Department of Agriculture requires we have it certified every year. So that reflects the cost of that. Testing is something that town office negotiates, but it's under my budget. So I can't tell you what the current contract, that might be.
Yeah, we changed it.
We changed it, I guess.
That is the,
So that's the current one, I guess. That's what it's gonna be next
we
year.
went over this year, which was strange. But
The electricity's, I'm assuming that's gonna go down to the actual cost once we get the rate study done, so that'll drop, and you'll see that in the next time we visit that. The heat, that's always dependent on how much used oil you guys bring me. If you guys bring me good used oil, then we can use the waste oil furnace there to heat the building, and it saves on heat, but if I don't get oil from people, we have to rely on the propane. Telephone, that's our telephone that we have down there. General, I'm gonna go up a little bit because everything's getting more expensive to haul. The general line is what it takes for me to haul glass out of there, to haul shingles out of there, to take care of our electronics. Now, everything that comes out of that line is reimbursed by an invoice. So the users pay for that. So even though it's a $13,000, we're getting reimbursed for that, those figures.
Are you getting reimbursed enough to cover that?
Yeah, yeah, it's more. I review it all the time. We get new, we'll get new rates every year from our vendors, and I've gone up on, you'll see me go up on the invoices that we give people every once in a while. When I have new ones printed, we'll go up on them. So every year I review that. Uniforms is driven by the contract, the union contract. Supplies is the same thing. It's, anything that, baling wire, we actually use that for. Cleaning supplies, toilet paper, things of that sort. Fuel, that's about the little mini loader down there and the fork truck. District dues this year went up, and like everything else, the cost of everything's going up a little bit to dispose of stuff, so they continue to rise just about every year on that one. And that's the Penny Baker District dues. Building maintenance, I'm gonna keep it about the same. I don't anticipate anything going down, but we've almost spent 3,000, so. Equipment maintenance, I never know when something's gonna break down there, so I'm gonna keep it at 4,000 and hope the best. Ooh, it's pouring out. Recycling equipment, that's for new equipment. If we need to buy something new down there, I don't know what we're gonna get this year, but I think some more bins Shelley wants to haul her recycling stuff in and out of the building, so. And those are about $900 a piece. So we're gonna keep that the same. And then the hauling, it always keeps going up and up and up. Even though we have a set rate on what it costs us to get rid of our tonnage, we never know how much is coming in. And then there's the other part of that is the tip fee, like the actual trucking cost. It's about $330 this year to haul out a can of trash or a can of C&D. That's the actually trucking cost. So every time I have to call in for one of those, it's $330 on top of the tonnage that our contract is set on, so.
Why is there a difference between the department head budget and the town manager budget?
Well, so that is typically, Charlie, always underfunded. So I always leave it up to the town manager and Marissa to figure out how because it's offset by revenue a little bit. So instead of raising it up to what the exact is, we keep it lower.
So last year,
You know, it's,
for an example, the actual was 148,000.
But what was it, that's what you spent.
That's what we spent, and
What
what was
was-
budgeted was 110 last
But
year.
but was it offset within us?
by
But you
revenue.
still have to raise and appropriate.
You have to raise, I understand you have to raise an appropriate.
It's not fully offset.
It's not fully offset because the town of
They're still
Ashland,
taking in trash.
so half of our budget is
Right.
household trash.
Right, and
And
then,
half of it is construction debris, which is paid for by the users.
yes.
So 50% of that cost is paid for in receipts. So,
Actually, it looked from September that you received almost 77,000 in recycling and
Right.
landfill receipts, which is great. I mean,
it's
that's
great, we're
30%
doing
of
a
the
lot
budget.
better job
Yeah,
down
you guys are
there.
doing great.
So it's always been up to, like Fred set that last year, he decided, let's put it at 110, so the taxes wouldn't take such a big hit. But it's up to the powers to be to decide how you want to do that. We could fully fund it and have more money left over.
You have revenue.
We'd have more
I mean,
revenue
it's
in
all
the general
figured in.
fund, say. So that's why that number's a little skewed, but we're bringing in more money than we ever have.
Yeah.
The people are doing a great job down there.
Craig's
It
got a
looked
really
like
great
your year-to-date might come out close to what you were actually forecasting here at the 116. Because I looked at September
Yeah.
and went, so I had the same question that Charlie
It might
had.
come
Why
out.
the delta?
Well, I think we might be still a little over, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit more over. Depends on how many people bring in construction debris and stuff, how many people are cleaning out their houses and spring cleanups, and it's construction-based, how many people are doing construction in town and things of that sort. We just never know.
They've done a great
But
job.
it's,
I didn't
but
realize
it
how
is
much it
the
did.
construction debris. We've gone down on our actual municipal solid waste, which is your regular household garbage. That tonnage has gone down, but it's the thing that people pay for with a receipt that's gone up, but it is offset by the users. Before we got the scales, that was paid for by everybody in the town, because we could never estimate what the weight was. When we got the scales, they actually paid their fair share of what they were bringing in, so. Any other questions?
Marissa, I just wanted to, similar question, I think, just for taxpayers to figure it out. It seems there's a positive story here, because when I compare I think you got about $100,000 in recycling and other fees last year. If we compare that to Holderness, it looks like we're doing a lot better than they are.
Yeah.
Like a lot better. So I'm just saying it'd be great if our townspeople felt like, hey, we're offsetting our transfer station. Not that it's a profit center or anything like that, but just to keep encouraging them to get
Yeah.
down there and recycle.
Craig's team has been doing a great job. So last year's numbers, if you were to look at 2023 versus 2024,
Yeah.
we were billing out paper invoices, weren't getting a lot of people paying. And then when Shelley came in as a full-time employee, all of that changed. We got those invoices cleaned up. They take the cash in at the transfer station, which doesn't leave you hanging to try to collect. Now it's you will collect when you go down there. So Craig's department has done a fantastic job of really making sure that they're getting the revenue that we're supposed to. So yeah, absolutely. So we can, I'm making notes while we talk about this, to your point,
Yeah.
so that we can update those.
Okay.
Do we have any further questions for Craig? Thank you, Craig. Ann, you're up.
We're gonna test Ann's audio. If it's not good, we'll just have her go to the next meeting. We're not
Yes.
sure if she can work in here.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so the first 1, 2, 3 lines are salary, for director's salary, there's a 3% raise there, that's the difference there. The background checks, we kept the same. The electric, we kept the same, but it probably will change once the studies are done. We're just kind of a placeholder. The fuel, we are gonna go, mine I kept the same, but we're gonna go down because we have different, at this point we have a different numbers to work with than we had before. The water, we kept the same. The sewer, I kept the same, however, the actual is lower, so it's gonna go down to 350. The internet went down a little bit. We were doing, last year, it was the first time that we had the new stuff in there, so we were basically trying to figure out how much it was gonna be and what other fees we had, but we've got it more exact now. The telephone, same thing, because the telephone went in, we switched everything. We're trying to get everything under one thing because we had like cable with one person, phone with another, and all that stuff. The chemical toilets, we are keeping the same. Advertising is the same. I'm sorry, what?
Nothing. That's the radio in the background.
Okay. Okay, so office supplies, we kept the same. Let me go over.
Cleaning?
The contracted cleaning, we did go down. We have somebody new that is cleaning, and we were able to go down some for that. Clubhouse supplies were kept the same. Computer went down a little bit, just because of figuring things out and getting it right after having it for a year. Building expenses, the what?
It went up.
Yeah, it went up a
Yes.
little bit, about $100.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Building expenses stayed the same. Field expenses stayed the same. The equipment, park and rec equipment stayed the same. Tennis court stayed the same. Campground Cleaning, that stayed the same. Contracted services went up a little bit. That's the dumpster. And we have to pay a fee to have it brought in and brought out every year. This one doesn't do the same as the last company that we just paid a fee and it stayed there, so we've got to pay for it to go in and out. The electricity we put as the same with the fuel there. The campground water, we did go up. Is that the radio again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Lake
Sorry,
Region
if
has a
anybody has a
question.
question, make sure I know.
Yeah, we will.
Okay. The campground sewer, it's gonna go down a little bit, a couple $100 for the town managers. The
What?
campground expenses,
You had some leaks, didn't you? That's why.
yes, we had to replace the
Right.
toilet.
Right. That's why it was up this past summer,
Right.
but, yeah.
Campground expenses, it's going to stay the same. You see we were over on both that line and the next one, the improvements, because we took money out of that to kind of offset the improvements we had to do when we closed down the campground over the winter to get those things done. So that's why we're over on those, but we're going back to the cost we had before. The tree maintenance.
Can you just go over that again, because that's like a big, different thing. It was like, what, like $30,000 or something to redo the campground stuff? That, I just don't understand, where does that show up on here in terms of what was done? It's just like something
Okay.
that's just buried in the general maintenance budget of the town?
So there's 2 lines there that are over. That went to fixing that stuff. We did take some out of, was it the capital reserve fund?
Yep.
Or the buildings and grounds fund, whatever the specific name is for it. We did take some out of there for that.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about, I just, I'm gonna see it on the revenue side.
Michelle, some of this was done in the 2024 budget.
Yep, right.
And some of
Right.
it was done from capital reserves, which isn't something you're gonna see on the expense because it's a separate
Yeah.
account held by the trustees. So like the survey is only partially paid due to the circumstances. So we're having a different firm finish it. So that hasn't been fully paid, but once it is, it'll be out of the CRF. So all of those things kind of come up to where she did her major upgrades over the past 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I get that. You know the page that you had last year where you summarized the expenditures and the revenues? You used to run like a $10,000 or $20,000 surplus and then you started going negative for a while. So I'm expecting to see some little record that says we invested a lot in the campground in 2024-25, and then I'm hoping I'm going to see, because of the increase in revenues and the higher campground fees, and then those 2 sites you're thinking of something that generates revenue. It just seems like that campground, if the taxpayers are using their money to subsidize the campground, it should not be buried in here, it should be clear. That's my question.
It's not buried, we just used it in other places, and now that the town has voted with a warrant article to keep a percentage, then we have another fund for in case something like that happens that we can build up.
Yeah, so.
That was voted,
In this year's warrant, there was an article to set a special revolving fund. So 12% of the campground fees would go into the revolving fund, which means it's non-lapsing, it doesn't go back to the general fund, it's for the purposes of Parks and Rec.
Right,
So-
it's not like that's going to pay back what we already did, that's for the future.
Correct.
Yeah,
There
so-
is not recouping from behind, but
Right.
it is something to move forward, so.
So it would be good to just keep a record of it so that we know what we did, because the last time it was negative, I think, was 2022. And now it's been negative again, 2024. I don't know exactly how it worked for 2025. I don't know with the new fees, if it more or less broke even.
I mean, and I don't believe you filled all of the campground sites this year, if I'm correct.
Yeah, couple of them.
Correct.
Yep.
So that's the
What are you
question.
saying is, I'm sorry, what are you saying is in the negative? Are you saying the department itself, or what are you trying to say? I want to be clear. I'm not sure what you're asking me.
It's the same question I asked last year. The page that you have in the budget last year where you show the 2025 budget, you made 2 columns and you wrote revenues and expenditures, right? So I'd like to see that updated, and then a little star talking about the additional money that got invested in the campground, because it was kind of a big investment in 2024-25, so that we can remember what it is going forward. Because the revenues are important.
I have that information. The thing is, we are using a new program right now, which doesn't have that in it. I could print that out and get it to you because I keep track of what the revenues and stuff are, but that's not in this program right now.
Okay.
Well, the current revenues are all going into the Parks and Rec fund now instead of the general fund? And when we pay the expenses?
12% stay with the Parks and Rec fund. Everything else offsets the budget. So you have revenues that come in, like police department parking tickets, that doesn't go anywhere special. It goes to offsetting revenue for the budget. 12% of what Ann gets from just the campground fees is what gets set aside. Non-lapsing does not offset the budget, and she can use that for improvements for Parks and Rec. So it's not a direct one-to-one. So Ann should have fees that are covering her expenses for each after-school program, the vacation program, and you have more programs than that, I'm just blanking, but she's gotta have the rate set to offset those. So you'll see those on your revenue reports that I send you monthly, where it says like campground, rental fees, she's got vacation camp, she's got after school, so that's where you're gonna see that. That's what Ann keeps track of, and that's the page that Michelle's talking about.
That's fine, I think we can just get it clarified.
So what is going into the special Parks and Rec account? After the budget is covered, then the balance goes?
Nope,
How is-
12% of the campground fees go into
What
it.
what does 12% mean? I mean, where did 12% come from?
You voted on it.
That's what the town voted
You
on.
voted on it in one.
Yeah, that's what the town voted on. So when the Economic Development Committee came before the Board of Selectmen last year around this time to talk about their findings for the campground, it was decided with the Board of Selectmen to do a 12% to this special revenue fund from just the campground fees for perpetual updates.
For maintenance of the campground.
Yeah, that's right. Just
For all Parks and Rec.
And so what was the 12% based on? I'm just interested. I mean,
Total fees taken in.
No, it was
Across the
like-
center.
So it was,
12%.
It was like 10 grand or 12 grand or something.
it was a suggestion based from the Economic Development Committee.
Yeah, because probably spent 30 or something, so it's like.
Because if you commit all of it, then you're not offsetting your budget.
Well,
You're
now
then
right,
kind of- So what they did is we had a whole discussion about what percentage made this sense to keep out that wouldn't negatively affect the campground fees offsetting their budget. And 12% seemed to be a number that everybody could agree on wouldn't hinder it offsetting the budget.
So you're pulling 12% of revenue out of the campground to go to other parks programs?
To a Parks and Rec revolving fund, for whatever Parks and Rec,
For whatever needed.
yeah.
Where was that? We were done, that was campground?
Yeah, we're on tree maintenance.
Okay, so tree maintenance, that is, I have Casey Hickson come in every year and go through and take out anything he feels needs to be taken down at the campground. So that we do our due diligence, make sure it's safe for the campers when they come in, there's no limbs and stuff like that. And that's the price that he gives us yearly.
That's a good price.
The next is beaches. And the first one is salary for the beaches, which are the lifeguards and the snack shack and, beach attendant, letting people in and stuff. The next line is vacation camp. That's summer camp over the summer, what we have for the camp with the 1-to-8 ratio, depending on how many kids. We typically have 40 plus. So that's to pay for that. And then the FICA and Medicare, that is figured out from that. Training certificate is for, we had to get lifeguard certified, and that's how much, as you can see, it came really close. If I had to get one more certified, which I had one that came back, and it's like every 2 years. So it depends if people come back or not.
Can I ask you a question, please? Can we go back? Actually, this is going back to the beach salaries and vacation salaries. And the only reason I'm asking is because we're at, the summer is done, and I'm looking at your actuals are far less than the budget for
the beach
salaries and the camp salary. And I would have thought that the expenses of that would be done, but I could be wrong. But could you explain that?
Yep, well, the beach salaries, depending on if we are open for every single day or not.
Okay.
If there's rain or stuff like that, that's going to make that different.
Okay.
Vacation camp salaries also includes, like, we did a half day when the kids got out early. We do, like, April vacation, and we'll do a Christmas vacation and stuff like that, so that's not really done.
Okay, so that goes back to all the way to the end of the year. Okay, all right, that's just not summer
Correct.
vacation. All right, that explains it. Thank you.
Okay. Yep. Summer expensive and first aid. That is if we need to get people CPR certified, because we make sure everybody's CPR certified. And it goes for 2 years. It depends if people come back, and if not, that's what it costs for that. And for the supplies, like, the new pads for the AEDs and batteries and Band-Aids and all the stuff we need to keep at the beach for any type of first aid emergency. The snacks for resale, that's just the stuff that we sell at the snack shack, water, ice cream, that kind of stuff, and that is offset by, well, we sell it, so we get our money back there. The summer equipment, kept that the same, and that is a lot less, the actual for this year. And the reason for that is we did get a wonderful donation from somebody, and we were able to use part of that to do, like, t-shirts that we went and got and did different activities like that, when you tie-dye them and stuff. And so that kind of saved us money there because we used the grant fund for that. The electricity, we kept the same. Beach water, we kept the same. The actual was over because we also had to fix, we used to have those other toilets in there, the hands-free, and we had to replace the stuff for those because some of those were leaking in the bathrooms. So Craig had to fix a couple toilets over there. Beach telephone, we kept the same. Contract cleaning, we kept it the same. It was under because, we didn't have somebody the whole time. Beach maintenance, kept that the same. Beach construction, we kept that the same. And even though that is under, it's a lot of the tree stuff that isn't really big, Craig's guys can do. And I get donations pour like the sand and stuff, so that keeps us lower there. The special vacation camp programs, we kept it the same, even though we were way under, and that is because we used some of that money that was donated to go on bigger trips, different trips, so that we didn't have to pay for as many trips for summer camp. Let's see, arts and crafts, we kept that the same. Vacation camp busing, we kept the same, even though that is under, because the grant did pay for a couple of those trips as well. That's it for that. Let's see. Okay, so now we're on to the after school. And the after school salary, kept that the same. And then all the expenses, I kept that the same. And that's pretty much all we have for there, except for, FICA and Medicare. And then Memorial Park is just under mine because has the word park in it.
Anybody have any questions? Let's move on to the library.
Thanks, Ann.
Yep.
I do have updated handout for everybody.
Oh, thank you.
We did send this email earlier today, but I wanted to make sure everybody had a printed copy also.
Did everybody get the email?
I also put it in their packets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the first page is basically wages and related costs to that. It hasn't gone up very much. We have put in a hourly increase of $1 for all employees for wages. The general expenses, that is basically, there's more information on page 2, and then page 3 is a breakdown of our general expenses. So audios, books have not gone up. The catalog, that's our annual fee for our online catalog, that's not gone up. Computer and technology equipment, we'll circle back to consulting fees. Dues stayed the same, education. Electronic resources has increased by 200%, and that's the cost of some of our
$200.
database. 200? Is that what I said?
You said percent.
Oh. $200. And that's for the cost of some of these online and e-resources. Equipment stayed the same. Furniture, we've increased by $250. Library of Things, that, for those of you who don't know, non-traditional items for the collection, like we have a bird watching kit with binoculars and a bird book. We have some games, lawn games. We just got something, now I can't remember what it is, but interesting, but more libraries are doing that kind of thing, having the Library of Things. Mileage has stayed the same. Postage has gone up because stamps and post office box rentals have increased. Our programs, that stayed the same. And that includes our movie license fee for when we show movies. Subscriptions and periodicals. Supplies, again, everybody's been mentioning the increase in just kind of those supplies that we all need
to run our offices and buildings. Tech support and videos have stayed the same, and that is those were all part of our program. So then after the gray line, it is more of building expenses. So our cleaning services will increase by $200. Fire alarm system, fuel, oil, and heating. We did okay last year, so we're keeping that the same. General maintenance. We've done a lot this year, but with the old building, a lot of things need some kind of maintenance on a regular basis. The security cameras and the other increase is for utilities, and that's an increase of $800. So for most of the things in our general expenses, that's an increase of $2,100. So the addition, the consultant fees, like I said in my email, some of you may know we've been working for many, many years to improve the library in some way, move it or renovate it or expand it. So we've been working on a renovation and expansion. So we started working with a fundraising consultant in June of this year. And so we've done about 6 months, May or June. So we've paid for about 6 months, and we've taken that out of various lines in our budget. But to see us through to a year in May, we're hoping to break ground sometime next year on this renovation and expansion. So to get us through, we need another $15,000 for the consultant.
So how much did you say you spent on the consultant for raising the development fund so far? That you took from different-
We've spent $15,000, and so it's
So you need
a $30,000,
total.
yeah.
So I had done the math, and I forgot, it's 30 total to raise,
An additional-
The 1.4 minus the 6 you have, I think it's, or minus the 4 you have, so it's $1 million, right?
We have about $600,000 because we have our capital reserve fund and some other.
And the anonymous donation.
Right, yeah, the $400,000, yeah, right. Mhm.
So 30,000 to raise $1 million, right?
Around that.
Around
yeah.
that.
Mhm.
It's similar to SLA's fee that they use to raise their 5, so you're smaller.
Yeah.
Any further questions about the library? Thank you, ma'am. That ends the budget portion of the meeting. Is the budget committee going to stay on, or are they going to leave?
We're just gonna stay, you're not gonna much more, are you?
We could be a few minutes.
We'll stay for now.
Okay. Mr. Lash?
Yes. Thank you.
Brian, could I get you to step over here? The camera's right behind you.
Oh, sure. And do we have an easel by any chance?
We do not.
Use the chair.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks for having me as your new neighbor. Those of you who don't know, I own the Owl's Nest Vineyard Course and the new Pemmy Burger Bar restaurant and renovated clubhouse. I have submitted to the state of New Hampshire, the lottery commissions in particular, for a charitable New Hampshire gaming license. And my intention is to put it in Ashland at the Owl's Nest Vineyard Course. I wanted to explain to you the difference between what I'm proposing and what you may have read about of other casinos that are in the state of New Hampshire. There are 11 casinos today.
and almost every one of them is huddled near the border of Massachusetts. There's only 2 that aren't down near the border. I have them in this chart I'm going to show you. But they're all day casinos. Day casinos cater to day customers. They come by car, they gamble, and they leave. What I'm proposing, and in discussions with several casino companies that are ongoing but confidential, is that this casino here in Ashland at the Ashland Selctboard course will be a destination resort casino hotel. The average length of stay will be over 3 nights. The customers will come from all over the Northeast, hopefully from all over the country. We're not turning away day visitors, but that's not our goal. Our goal is to build the first and only destination resort casino in this state. And this town, Ashland, is the perfect location for many reasons. I don't need to tell you because you're all residents of Ashland. I'm a resident of Waterville Valley. But here in Ashland, we're 5 miles to Squam, about 11 miles to Meredith, Winnipesaukee, about 12 or 13 miles to Newfound Lake, and within 30 miles of 5 major ski areas, namely Gunstock, Tenney, Waterville, Loon, and Cannon. As a resident of Waterville Valley, and I have friends that come visit, when I can't accommodate them at my house, friends often say, well, where should I stay? And I can't recommend anything nice in Waterville Valley. And for that matter, I can't recommend anything that I'd want to stay at in Lincoln either. There's a few new, nice hotels, but they're 3-star, they're Hampton Inns, they're Holiday Inns. If we build this casino destination hotel here in Ashland, people now that want to go skiing in the White Mountains or want to come visit the Lakes region will have a 5-star alternative to stay at right here in Ashland. It'll have a positive effect on many merchants in the town, not just gas stations and convenience stores, but restaurants and other purveyors. It will have a very positive effect on the tax basis here in the town of Ashland. The estimated build cost on this property that I'm proposing is about $50 million. That would bring about $1 million a year to the town of Ashland. Not to mention several hundred, maybe as many as 500 full-time jobs. Other casinos in the state are larger than what I'm proposing. Some of them employ close to 800 people. From what I can ascertain, we're going to have between 300 and 400 full-time employees and about 500 construction jobs during the 2-year build period. Obviously, we'll give as many jobs as we can to local tradesmen and craft people. But the ability to employ several hundred people full-time at this resort is something that I think we all can appreciate. I wanted to share this with you. This is probably hard to read, so I'm going to bring it closer. So the New Hampshire charitable gaming laws say that 35% of all the revenue generated by the casino goes to charities. And it's up to the casino operator to decide which charities would benefit from this revenue. I can tell you that the charities that we would be focused on, I have to look at it to read, include the Ashland Historical Society, the Ashland Community Food Pantry, Friends of the Ashland Town Library, Ashland Firefighters Auxiliary, Ashland's 4th of July Committee. I was very fortunate to take a ride with Michelle. I saw that beach. I think that beach must be a not-for-profit, right?
What? It's a town beach.
It's a town beach. It's not on the list, but it should be. If it's a separate 501(c)(3), that's the only rule.
We could probably create one.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, the monies generated from a destination resort casino hotel here in Ashland are going to go to charities that are going to support Ashland. There's the Squam Lakes Association, there's the Squam Lakes Conservation Society. Basically, we're talking about our community. This chart, again, hard to read, but there's no casino on here that's going to generate the type of revenue that we are going to, because some are very large and they're on the border, and some are very small, but they don't have a hotel. So the smallest casino, which is up in North Conway, is allegedly going out of business, to be quite candid, because it doesn't have hotel rooms. But to give you an example of the type of charitable revenue, some of the bigger ones, the Gate City Casino and the Brook Casino. The Brook is in Seabrook, Gate City Casino is in Nashua. In Salem. In January and February last year, the Gate City Casino gave away over $800,000 a month to charities, a month. Now, this is much bigger than what I'm proposing, more than twice the size. So if you take that number and you cut it in half, if we're so lucky, maybe as much as $300,000 or $400,000 a month will be donated to charities in this town and this community. $3 or $4 million a year to soup kitchens and homeless and all the other important charities in this area. The state also gets 10%, which is good. The state needs money as well. But I'll let you look at this chart more up close when you have a moment. I want to give you an idea of the style and intent of what we want to build. This is going to go on the first fairway, by the way. Now, I know I just finished renovating 18 holes of that golf course, and I just bought the 8 acres directly east of the golf course, but that 8 acres can't handle a casino, hotel, and parking. And furthermore, my first hole is largely out of the floodway. So I can put the casino up on high ground where the maintenance building is. But this is going to look like Allison up in Thornton if you haven't been there. This is our ethos. Lots of imported from Canada, Douglas fir beams, a mountain modern look. But this casino is not just a beautiful building. It's going to have tremendous public spaces as well. So we are going to build a theater. Right now it's scheduled to be 500 seats, which is slightly bigger than the Flying Monkey, and obviously much newer. And Flying Monkey is one of my favorite spots, and I go to concerts there and so forth. We'll be able to do bigger, better events there. It's going to have a gigantic conference center. One of the larger conference centers in the state. Because a destination casino resort hotel in Ashland has the same challenges that any hotel or resort has in New Hampshire. First is April, second is November. These are dark, dark, dark days for tourism in New Hampshire. Midweek is tough. Midweek is tough even in the summer. And having a very large conference center will allow us to go after corporate groups to come in and fill those Monday through Friday nights that are hard to fill. This is samples of the lobby and restaurant. It'll have at least 2 restaurants, 2 bars. We'll have some wine-related features like a tasting room and so forth, because we have the vineyard at the vineyard course. And here's an example of what our rooms and suites might look like. Speaking of rooms and suites, the plan today is 100 rooms and suites. So capacity of 200 people sleeping, double occupancy. That's it for poster boards. Be happy to answer any questions. We're only at the, I wouldn't say preliminary stages. The state has given me very, very positive feedback. Of course, it starts here. If I don't have the support of the town of Ashland, then there is no White Mountain Casino. By the way, we own the trademark White Mountain Casino. It's going to be called White Mountain Casino by somebody, a famous casino company. Like I said, that's in discussion. But it does start here in Ashland. And once we have the ability to win the hearts and minds of the people of Ashland, then the state will issue me a license. Or they'll issue me a license, but if, it may not go ahead, it may not be in Ashland, this is where it should be. This is where I want it to be. It's not going to go in Thornton or Campton, where our other property is. Basically, I also have to name my gaming partner. And that's the other reason why I don't have my license yet. But I've been received favorably, and the state wants a destination resort casino hotel. And the state wants a casino that's owned by a New Hampshire resident, which none of the casinos in New Hampshire today are owned by a New Hampshire resident. They're all owned by companies out of Las Vegas, Atlantic City. Churchill Downs, which owns where the Kentucky Derby is, they own one of the casinos. So that's what I can tell you today. I can answer any questions that you have. Please.
Can I just chime in? I'm Phil Hastings, lawyer for Owl's Nest. Brian's talked sort of generally about needing the town's buy-in, but from a legal standpoint, we also need the town's buy-in in that your zoning ordinance doesn't allow any of this to happen at Owl's Nest. The property's in the rural residential zone with very restrictive uses. So specifically, we'd be asking the Board of Selectmen and the Planning Board to support an amendment to the zoning ordinance to allow this type of use to take place. And this is the beginning of the discussion, and we'd be interested in your feedback on how we could make that happen if you're interested in going down this road with us.
How soon can you get before the planning board?
For a discussion like this, their next meeting.
Thursday,
Brian?
I could be here Thursday.
It'll be at Collins Street. The reason why I'm asking is because anything that we need to do to accommodate you is probably going to have to be in a warrant article for elections in March. And that has to be in for, go ahead.
If I may, that has to be in so that we can have public hearings in December.
Right.
So it has to be this Thursday.
This Thursday, you can come for an informational. I can't have you on as any voting thing, but you can be as an informational to the planning board.
And does it meet every Thursday or
Every other Thursday. It meets the first and third Thursdays of every month. So you need to call the land use secretary in the morning and talk to her, and she'll guide you through the process.
Okay. So if, and you're sure that the agenda is open, that I'd be able to present?
The agenda is open for anyone to come in to talk, but call her in the morning.
Okay.
There would be no decisions made.
Understood. And I could do 2 weeks from Thursday as well.
You'll have to talk to her about postings and everything.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I guess I asked for you, that, there may be some, I don't know if there's enough power through Ashland Electric out there that might have to be considered. And also water resources, you may have to take a look at that.
There's 3 phase out there, so we should be all set for power.
And might have to look at the capacity of what you have out there.
Their drills, their wells.
We'd be planning on drilling wells. We're already on wells, but we'd be drilling new wells for this. And we have 15 acres set aside for this project, so there's enough room for septic, enough land to drill the wells, and for the parking, and for the building, and the amenities. No.
Do we have any further questions for Mr. Lash?
How about roads?
I'm sorry?
How about roads, North Ashland Road?
Yeah. That's something that's gonna have to come up.
We'll come up to the planning phase,
Imagine
and
the planning,
Mr.
yeah.
Moore will be very involved with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine we'd need to do some sort of traffic analysis to visit the capacity and any signalization issues.
Yeah. Anything else? Thank you, Mr. Lash. We look forward to hearing from you on Thursday.
Okay, thank you so much.
Don't forget your other poster board right there.
Thank you.
All right. Nice to be patient.
Next item on the agenda, police vehicle purchasing.
So, I mentioned a little while ago that we're having some issues with our truck, and we're trying to get rid of it. Right now, we've got a really, to be quite honest with you, a hell of a trade-in value on it. I got quotes for a couple of different vehicles. We primarily, for the last several vehicle purchases, have had a really good working relationship with Central Chrysler, Jeep, and Dodge. And Deb down there is the fleet manager for Dodge for New England. So she gives us factory direct pricing and often beats state bid pricing coming straight out of the factory. So I went straight to her and I was looking to replace the pickup truck with a pickup truck. The pricing on the pickup truck that they have available it's just too high. So I looked at going to a Durango. I looked for if they had any leftover stock, and they had a leftover one from 24, but it's been sitting there for well over a year. And for the cost difference between the two, I'm not interested in buying something that's been sitting on a lot for a couple of years, or a little over a year and a half almost, because that means it hasn't been run, the fluids are not going through, and that's just a recipe for disaster. So I was able to get a quote, what I thought was actually quite a good quote, for a 26 Durango patrol vehicle, and with the trade-in value of the current pickup that we have, brings the price down to quite a reasonable amount. The money is there in the CRF, so I was here to ask the board to release those funds so that we can go ahead and get this process rolling as soon as possible, because it's something that, as I mentioned earlier, we should have had this truck on last year, but obviously that didn't happen. The sooner the vehicle is due to their dealership, she said to be, I don't know if it's there quite yet, she said the first week of November, but there may be delays on that, I'm not 100% sure, but there's still quite a long process for me to get with our vehicle upfitters and all of that kind of stuff to get everything worked out as to what we can transfer from vehicle to vehicle, going from a pickup truck to an SUV, what will work, what won't, what extras are needed there, bless you. So that's the request. I do understand, I know the board in years past has asked for at least 3 quotes for doing something like this. I figured I'd come before you to ask to forego that, considering that state bid pricing is not out for most 26s right now. I was able to come across another state bid or another price from Hillsborough through their fleet manager down there, and their price for the same vehicle is $41,990. So that shows you that, we're $200 under what their pricing was. But we have such a long-standing relationship with them. The last couple of times I've come before the board to ask to purchase a vehicle, I have not provided 3 quotes. It wasn't necessary based on the fact that we have this working relationship with Deb, and like I said, they often beat the state bid pricing, where most of the vehicles you purchase are through state bid pricing, but if they can beat it, obviously that's a lot better. So the state bid pricing for most 26s have not been voted on yet. That usually doesn't come out until a little bit later on. You're only seeing the very large companies put them out, and the only state bid pricing, the only other quote that I was able to get for a 26 Pursuit was that one from Hillsborough for a couple $100 more. So if I have to wait for the full state bid pricing to come out, I honestly don't know when that is. It's usually not till February, March because of voting. So I can either, the only other option would be to call and see what kind of pricing I could get from other dealerships without the state bid going through. So that's kind of where we're at.
Was Hillsborough a bid or quotes, or did Hillsborough go out to bid, or when,
So that is a bid from them, because they're one of the larger ones in the state. I think them and Grapponi was out, but Grapponi didn't have any numbers for Dodges.
Okay, so
They only had numbers for Chevy and Fords.
so that was another political organization who did a bid, and that's what they came in with that?
Yeah, Hillsborough, they are technically, what are they? It falls under Hillsborough CDJR LLC. So usually it's Hillsborough Ford, but they have a number of different sites.
But the county of Hillsborough, who purchased it? Did you say there was another purchase by a?
No, so state bid pricing is, so the state allows.
Right. But where I come from, if we had state bid pricing, but any other political organization, if they had done the same process, we could buy off of that too. I thought that's what you were saying. No,
I don't know anything about
Okay,
that.
all right. Sorry, I misunderstood what you said. Okay.
So the current state, you are down the pickup truck, correct?
It is, we are not running it. There is, it's throwing some codes that could be quite significant or not so much. It runs the gamut of what it could be. The only way to determine that is to go and have a full diagnosis done at the dealership. We're going to get rid of the vehicle anyway, so I'd rather not spend the money just to find out what it is when we're going to be getting rid of it as soon as possible anyhow. So we can leave the code as it is and trade it in as is, or we can pay to find out what the code is. We're getting rid of the vehicle either way. But we're not able to run it right now, not knowing how significant without getting a full workup done, we won't know if it's a relay, a wire, or the entire set of piston rings and heads and the whole upper, because it's a knock sensor, so it could be. How many miles that go on? Oh, I think, I don't know off the top of my head, I'd have to look. I don't want to give you the wrong number.
Ron, your take?
I'd go for it. Before that thing grenades and it has no value.
Anybody on the board got anything to say?
I agree with Ron. Move it.
I'll make a motion to approve the purchase order for $41,909 to Central Chrysler Jeep Dodge for a Dodge Ram Durango. Do I have a second?
Yeah.
I'll second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Because Ann's on board, on Zoom, we have to do a roll call vote. Charlie?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Jenny?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
And Andy votes yes. Motion carries.
Yeah, you guys sign it.
That vote was from the capital reserve?
Yes.
Okay. Didn't hear it mentioned.
Yeah, CRF, yeah. Thank you.
The next item on the agenda, we approved some paving earlier this year. The bill has been paid, however, we had said it was going to come out of a capital reserve fund, and we need to take a vote to authorize the trustees of the trust fund to take the money out and reimburse the town. Correct? Okay. And the amount is $116,178.06. That was the lower end of town down here, Craig?
That's right.
So I'll make a motion to approve the trustees issuing the town a check for $116,178.06 for the paving that was earlier approved.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Do I have any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Wait a minute. Blew it. Charlie? Yes? Steve?
Yes.
Jenny?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
And Andy says yes. That's what happens when they change the rules on me.
Yes, yeah. Thank you.
The next item we have is Water and Sewer would like to replace their V-plow. They're actually, their current V-plow is being traded in. They're getting a new truck. They would like to get a new V-plow with the new truck.
Andy, if I may, on Andrew's behalf.
Yeah, go ahead.
Originally, we were gonna ask to take this from CRF, which is why I went to the board. We actually found the money in his budget to do it out of the budget, so it would actually revert back to Ron, because it's under that 15,000 threshold, because we're no longer gonna pursue using CRF funds.
And he's actually splitting it between water and sewer.
Yeah, he does.
Thank you.
All yours. We have an MS 232. This has to do with the extra town meeting that we had this year that approved $2.1 million. Marissa?
Sure. So special town meetings have a different protocol. So you actually signed this exact piece of paper back in March, once the March original town vote happened. The way DRA handles this is that they roll it back, add in the additional warrant article, and they reclose it. So you're signing the same thing you did in March for all the warrant articles that passed, plus the 2.2 million that was voted at the special town meeting. And this is the last piece to the tax rate setting puzzle. So if you could sign, that would be great.
I'll make a motion to approve the MS 232.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please? Charlie?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Jenny?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Andy says yes. Motion carries. There's 2 copies.
Do you need Ann to swing in and sign also?
Yeah, Anne, can you stop by after school tomorrow?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
You're doing good working with Hootie there.
Love that bird.
It misses
Yeah,
you
well,
tonight.
I sent her a picture. Alright, so.
Yep.
I'll put the pen away.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is town manager's report.
Keep this kind of short. The fire department has had a busy October, responding to 4 medical calls, 20 fire rescue calls, 8 motor vehicle accidents, and 5 calls for service. Craig and his team did a fantastic job removing the brush and overgrowth at Town Hall between the church and the parking area. I'm pleased to announce that we have made good progress on reducing the uncollected balances in the utilities billing. The Thompson Water Street project is nearing its completion. And the electric department has been busy doing light maintenance and did a great job restoring power when a couple of outages occurred with strong winds during the past storms. Last weekend, was it? Yeah. And actually Craig's crew stepped up and helped them get rid of some of the big trees that came down and took wires out. So good job, I.O. And that's my report.
Okay. Do we have any old business? Any selectmen items? I have one selectmen item. Ann and I are going to switch positions on the planning board. Ann is going to be the delegate to the planning board, and I am going to fill in when she's not available, if the board is okay with that. Anything else? We have no non-public tonight? Nope. It's 8:39. Have a good night, everybody.